We generated around 560 plus million impressions organically. There was
creating property cards for the first time for people owning houses in the rural areas.
We have a patent on a bits technology,
but we were really guided by what we wanted it to be.
In terms of the content consumption pattern has changed.
Very competitive, very crowded.
The objective is basically to democratize cancer care.
I see a very bright future for retail industry.
Technology now allows us to scale up.
We also want to help patients become more compliant.
If I look at the custom solutions market, it's almost about $1,500 billion.
Your customers will not continue to be with you if you don't change here.
We had adopted digitalization much earlier.
Within a very short span of time, we are the number one operator in the whole of South India.
If you are reaching out to a lakh people today, you would be reaching out to an entire globe tomorrow.
We got those two brands and then immediately got into a few of the LFRs, and there was no looking back.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 29th episode of Ascent Talks. My name is Ajit and I've been an Ascent member for over 10 years, and I lead Nova, an air conditioning company, and Pure Blue, a tech-enabled startup which offers air conditioning services across India. And as usual, my co-host is Aleem. How are you doing, Aleem?
Fantastic, Ajit. Good morning, and good morning to everyone. My name is Aleem. I run an advertising and marketing company called Synapse, and we're very, very happy to have you on this show today. But I want to let you know a little more about Ascent, and nobody better than Ajit to tell you about that.
Hey, thanks, Aleem. So for all you guys who are joining us for the first time, Ascent is a not-for-profit expression of Harsh Mariwala, Chairman, Marico Limited, and his passion to identify high-potential growth stage entrepreneurs and enable them to grow their enterprise and enrich their entrepreneurial journey. Launched in 2012, Ascent today empowers more than 850 entrepreneurs across India. Ascent is designed as a unique, powerful peer-to-peer platform that leverages the power of the collective through self-facilitated groups called trust groups, which enables entrepreneurs to share and exchange experiences, ideas, insights, and create a healthy ecosystem to learn from each other. Ascent Talks is a weekly event which is held with Ascent members to learn about their interesting entrepreneurial journeys. So let's get in our guest today.
Absolutely. Welcoming Nikunj Jhaveri, a BTech from IIT Bombay and a founder chairman of Systems Plus group of companies, which specializes in IT and ITS services. He has clients all in 40 countries, and with almost 4 decades of multi-industry and multi-domain experience, he's guided Systems Plus through its growth journey and formulated strategies to build and acquire new businesses. He's always supported new and innovative business ideas and invested in a number of startups and helped them grow by being a mentor to them and by becoming part of their advisory board. Giving back is a core value that he has, and he has successfully imbibed it within the ethos of the business he is part of. All these businesses distribute a fair share of their profits and to organizations working in various causes. So, Nikunj, welcome to the show, and I'm privileged and honored you were part of the earlier GC, and I think Ajit and I took over after that. So yes. It's great to have one of our early members in this talk show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nikunj, tell us about the business. While I did introduce, and I'm normally a very poor introducer of guests.
We still give an opportunity for you guys to say it in your own words.
Ajit has the nice standard way of talking about Ascent and all that. I always have this new challenge of introducing the guests. It's always very
So this is a business which is now 36 years old. So I founded it while I was yet in IIT. And it was basically started as a software services business, not even service, more distribution business. And in those days, 36 years ago, there was the Osborns and the Apples and all. Not too many people knew about computers in those days. luckily I had access to something, and we started software training and writing and custom software kind of stuff. That's what has evolved now into a. So we have three lines of business primarily. There is one which is traditional software services. So you take a Infosys or a Wipro or a TCS. We do kind of work like them for outsourcing software services. We also have something which is called a managed captive business. So companies in the US or abroad or anywhere want to set up a IT services setup in India, but to do that on their own is a big pain, right? To have legal and HR and all that kind of stuff. So what we do is actually give them all the soft stuff which they need. So the legal side, we have the people on our payroll. They manage the delivery. We do all the accounting, the hiring, the space for them, etc., etc., is managed by us. So, and that's a cost plus model, which is actually something unique because you're getting lower costs and lower returns, but you're getting much longer contracts because people don't want to throw their own people out, right? And then the third business we have is a cloud business, which is with a joint venture in a company based in Scandinavia. So where we're doing cloud migration work on Amazon and stuff like that. So these are the three lines of business which we primarily have. Yeah.
Amazing, Nikunj. Nikunj, I know you just said that you started this out of IIT, but you were serving on one customer, right? Just one customer. Tell us about that, where it was like, you are an independent entrepreneur, but you are with just one customer. And how did you take that transformation from one customer? And how was it? Some 95% or 92% of your business was one customer.
Yeah. So that was that was when it was. So we started with multiple customers, but then in the middle, suddenly Pepsi came our way. Okay. So it wasn't even Pepsi, it was Frito-Lay in India. When Frito-Lay was that time only a $5 million business in India. Right now it's over $1 billion business. But so when they came our way and then they wanted to do something, I said, okay, great. You start working with them. And once we started doing something with them in India, they said, hey, this is great. Yeah, this works. So the CIO, the Chief Information Officer for Asia, was down and he said, can you help me in China? I said, yeah, sure. Can you help me in Thailand? Yeah, sure. And that's how it started. Everybody started saying, hey, here's this guy who seems to know how to deliver affordable solutions for us. Why can't we use him everywhere? So soon, without me knowing it, I was in about 7 or 8 countries within Asia. Once that happened, people started getting to know this is working. And people in Pepsi move from Asia to US or to Europe or whatever. So somebody who's my mentor, actually, he moved from Singapore to Europe. So he said, guess what? You're coming my way. So I started working with him next thing I knew, people were working in Spain and Netherlands and doing, larger and larger contracts across. Then people in the US got our attention. They say, hey, there's something is happening here that these guys are using a smaller business, IT business, but they seem to be delivering work at very affordable pricing. Can we have him in Europe? Can we have him in US? Can we have him in Mexico? So next thing I knew is we were working with PepsiCo in about 23 countries immediately. And then it moved up to 40 countries. So I was all over the place working in 40 countries. And then next thing I knew, I didn't have bandwidth to do anything else. So, Pepsi was consuming me effectively because they were just keeping on calling us for business. So, it was this very interesting situation. And so that's how we moved to about 95%. But then what happens? When a customer has 95% of market share of your own business, when they sneeze, you catch a bloody cold.
and you can. This is like the COVID effect. It happens. Somebody sneezes and I fall sick.
But that's what happened because suddenly new guys come on board. They say, why is it that they want to have change in strategy? We want to get the big boys in. So suddenly you guys are saying, oh crap, what's going to happen to me? Yeah. So that's when then I kind of said, what, we have to make a change. And my nephew, who was based in the US, and he was working with Deloitte initially, and then with PwC, and he was not thrilled with the idea of continuing there. I mean, he was a US citizen. And he was saying, Mama, I think I'm going to leave this job. I said, okay, stop worrying about it. Just come back to India and help me grow this business. So that's what we did. We kind of got him back to India. He came in and said, okay, you're going to take over the business in the next 7-8 years. Let me focus on, so you focus on Pepsi, continue keeping Pepsi happy. I will start looking at other businesses. And that's how we started working with different customers. And then we started getting retail customers, and we suddenly moved on. So I moved out of PepsiCo, but Sapan, who's my nephew, who's the CEO of the business now, he started working with PepsiCo, and I started working with other customers and evolved and built new customers like Brooks Brothers and Petco and various Payless Shoes, etc., etc. A lot of them in the retail space somehow across the US. So that's the migration which has happened, and now PepsiCo is a small percentage, and others have become much more safer. Then that allows me to sleep in peace now. Now it's
I can
okay.
imagine. Aleem, just imagine, I'm planning a business growth. So let's say, Nikunj will go to Pepsi and he'll say that, "Bhaiya, wo पिछले का पैसा चाहिए." बोला, "अरे, पैसा क्यों चाहिए? Next job. I'm taking you to London. I'm taking you to Australia. You tell me what."
That happened, yeah. That happened. They said, you know what? Making policy change from 30 days now 90 days. So all payments 90 days. Like, how do you survive?
I can imagine. That's typically that over dependency when it comes in. While it's exciting that you're able to grow at that pace, but that the risk that comes along with it is a little bit can give you sleepless nights. Yeah. It's amazing how we pull that off.
Fabulous.
It luckily worked.
Nikunj, 40 years is a very long time in business. I mean, what are the big challenges you have faced? As in, one of them would be Pepsi. What are the other challenges you faced? It's interesting for us to know, okay, in such kind of duration, what all happens in a business and how do you overcome it?
So I think the challenges have been, one of the things which I've started multiple businesses. So I've been more of a spray and pray kind of guy. Okay. So क्या होगा guys? Okay, something new, a nice idea comes your way, chalo, chalu karte. Now what happens is, you have to invest in those, and some of them fail. You've hired people. You wanted to do geographical growth. We hire people who think will be great in around the world, but they don't work in our mindset. So you have to fire people. So I think the challenge was actually structured growth. It wasn't structured growth. It was more about whatever came our way, we take the opportunity and go. And that was one of the biggest challenges. I think that has been mitigated after a while, thanks to Pepsi in a way. Because Pepsi, I've never done an MBA. Okay, I was an IIT boy, got into business, being a good Jew. Why spend money? Just actually start making money. It was the whole ethos in a good Jew's life, as most of you guys know. Right. So what I said was, through Pepsi, I actually got my MBA. They made us I had to build strategic plans for the different businesses I was focusing on at Pepsi. So I started doing the same thing for my business. So, started building a 5-year strat plan, building an annual operating plan. So where do we want to go? With that, we put marketing calendars in place. With that, we put customer acquisition plans in place. So then it started moving from a unstructured, cowboy kind of attitude business to more of a structured, thought process driven, strategically planned business, which also then when Sapan came on board, he adds that whole element of an MBA, and he's done his MBA from NYU and all. So he brought in those processes in place. He's a finance guy as well, which also helped a lot. And that helped us to move to a business. So that was one big challenge. I think the other big challenge, as Aleem would have been, and it continues being, is people. Getting, in technology, people has been the biggest challenges. And one of the things which we've done and has luckily worked for us, I yet have people working with me for the last 30 years. And some of them are, 35 years also in play. Was we always treated people like family, and we continue treating people like family. So like even today, with about 600, 700 people in the business, I yet call every single person on their birthdays and wish them.
Wow.
Now, it's a very small thing, but that matters a lot. In fact, now it becomes embarrassing saying, I was waiting for your call or you didn't call. But I think, so, and like simple things like, we said we will not use roll numbers. We will not have an employee number because we want to know everybody by their name. So things like that is what actually allowed us to retain people. But even that said, I think just the job market being such, keeping people has always been a challenge. Hiring people, not being the big brand that we were not an Infosys or a Wipro or an IBM. We are Systems Plus, which not everybody knows. That became a challenge. Yeah. We mitigated the attraction piece, and we had continued doing that is by the whole captive model which we've bought, where we kind of do joint hiring. So, example, Brooks Brothers. Now, everybody knows Brooks Brothers. So, we are hiring at Systems Plus for Brooks Brothers. So, then suddenly people start getting, ye to bada company hai, chalo, let's at least apply. Yeah. And then once they apply, then you get people in. So, that's the way it was.
Awesome. So, Nikunj, when you were traveling to all these 40 countries, what was your age like here? What was his age?
So, I started traveling by when I was, I think, 30.
Awesome. What an age, man. Okay. We know it's your anniversary today, and hopefully your wife is also watching this today. So tell me something. You were also like these sailors. How many girlfriends did you have here?
So my wife very clearly says that I have a family in multiple places. So there were a couple of places which I used to go very, very often to, and they both start with B. One is Bangkok, the other is Barcelona, and the other is Barcelona.
Yeah, but that could have been. But that's quite a. You did quite a bit of traveling, right? I mean, from 30 to going to these 44 countries. How much? I mean, were you ever on land, or you were constantly just flying? How did that happen?
I was pretty much on the air, pretty much all the time. So I used to. There was a point of time when I was traveling about 200 days a year internationally.
Wow.
And
200 days a year.
Yes. Yeah. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. But the customer wanted you, and when they said you come, you say okay, come. The good news was they would always pay and they would allow you to travel comfortably. So it wasn't that I had to travel in at the back of the bus or something like that. I could travel business and I could travel depending on whatever policy the customer wanted you on for. And but yeah, it was insane. I mean, that.
So if you haven't used up all those miles, I can tell you, please sponsor some.
I think there's a queue of that.
We'll still stand in the queue. I'm sure we'll reach there someday.
Yeah, you don't mind. We'll still reach there someday.
But now I'm not traveling any longer because now the business is being run by the second gen. So I'm actually not traveling as much internationally for work. I travel for fun, but not for work. So that's so then there's always a queue. Now I have a grandson, so then he's also waiting in queue. So.
Wow. And Nikunj, very interesting you brought that up because my next question was going to be about your succession planning. I want to know a little more about how you planned the next step. I can see your designation as chairman and founder, which we know what that means nowadays. So I want to know, how do you do this? I mean, it's very interesting for our listeners to kind of get that grip. What is succession planning? How does one do it successfully? And what have been your learnings in that journey?
So actually, I think this is where, succession planning for me started happening thanks to my nephew coming back, which was a great stepping stone. My kids were not going to come back initially, but my nephew is like my eldest son. So it was an easy one to say, okay, family mein hi hai, chalu karte hai. But with that said, I think, one of the things which I learned while I was at, with Ascent, with the huddles and it was the importance of having a proper planning cycle in place. Luckily, in my trust group, I had a lot of second generation entrepreneurs. And I think also with my travel and my extensive travel, I was kind of burnt out to some extent of just continuously being on the road. And I needed somebody else to start saying, Abhi chalu karo. And I was telling Ajit, when I met him casually one day, that I actually had a midlife crisis at 42. You that typical, saying, bas, bat ho gaya, I'm done. I don't want to do anything more. I want to just now exit the business. So while I was thinking of doing all that kind of stuff, when my nephew came on board, we actually sat down and said, look, you are going to shadow me. So we did a typical IT strategy, right? You shadow me first, I shadow you, do a reverse shadow with you, and then I start phasing out. I will only focus on the sales and marketing piece. You start running the business on a day-to-day basis. So when we started doing that kind of operations in place, I kind of, over the last 7 to 8 years, I mean, that's now 10 years ago, I actually stopped operational involvement totally. I was only focusing on sales and marketing. I was yet the face of the company for a long time. But then gradually, even that started changing. We said, no, now it's time for even him to take charge of the customer. And thanks to COVID, actually, COVID came our way, and he was a US citizen. He could travel. I couldn't. It became very easy. Sapan will come. Sapan will come. Sapan will come. I don't have to go anywhere. And then that became an easy way to say, you know what, I'm done. So we did that. Of course, another big thing which we did as a family was we put up very quickly put a family constitution in place. I have, other than Sapan, who's my like an eldest son, I have 2 boys. So, and all of them were in the business for a period of time. My elder one has now moved on, but my younger one is now part of the business as well. So to make sure that, how it works, what rights does anybody have, where do I interfere, where I don't interfere. So, like certain investment decisions, etc., then I need to be consulted. So we did all that. And this was thanks to actually the learnings from Ascent, because I would not have even figured this out if it hadn't been for the conclave, it hadn't been for the chats which I had with a bunch of others on putting this in place. So yeah, so succession plan has been, for me, very useful. Ascent has been great for me there. And the big learnings are, you have to start doing it much earlier, and the conscious decision has to come from you. The biggest issue is the kids can't ask for it. The patriarch or the founder has to decide that he wants to plan that, and it has to be done while he's alive or she's alive. Yeah. And she's actually active in the business when they can say, this is what I want to do, and I can then move on. Another big thing which made a difference for me was I found another passion.
Yeah, I think you should talk through it, because I just wanted to actually bring that up with you. You should just spend some little time and tell us about that other passion that.
So that passion for me. So when I had a midlife crisis, I started saying, "Chalo, abhi paisa to bana diya. Time to start giving back." So when I started,
passion बोल रहे थे, मैं सोचा क्या passion है ये, इतना about this passion.
Boss, you didn't hear his passion. His passion is very simple. कि पैसा बना लिया, I have to give back. भैया, whoever is watching, अपना bank account डालो, direct transfer होने वाला है.
I am PMing in my bank account as we speak.
Direct transfer is happening in the show today.
But Aleem, hold on. The risk you run when you PM me is, I have another. Actually, I didn't put it in the chairman and founder. I actually now changed my name to social terrorist. So I ask everybody for money.
sorry, I didn't mean to interfere, but yeah, your passion.
No, so back to my point. So the passion was, I started working with, so as an organizer, as you read in the intro, that we do a fair amount of giving back. So we started our own CSR concept way before the CSR mandate came in play. Now, again, being a good Guju, you never want to write a check and walk away. You want to see the value of that check, right? So that's how I started getting involved with various organizations. And then that became like, you know what? Yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to spend more and more time in working with not-for-profits and helping them scale, helping them grow. So over a period of time, now I'm on the board of about 14 different organizations, helping them actually scale and then take it forward. So I think that's where that passion helped me move away from the business. Because if I hadn't got a passion, I would say, what am I going to do every day in the morning? I need to do something. So this is actually keeping me busier than I was before. But I'm staying away from the hair of the kids. So don't interfere with them. I now literally spend 2 half days a month on the business. That's it.
Wow.
Amazing.
Let them run it. Of course, the business is doing very well. So touch wood, obviously you don't need to worry about it then. But I think, but an important element is find something else for yourself to do. And it's not a hobby. It's something you want to do full time. only then can you walk away. That would be a big learning, I think, which I have seen for me, which has helped a lot. Sure.
And Nikunj, tell us about Ascent. I mean, you've been here for a while, and tell us about your group and has it changed over a period of time? What happens and how you mentioned it quite a number of times that they've been in your.
Yeah, so my group's name is Kick-Ass. So we were one of the. So the name was given by us. We said, let's kick some ass when we created. But our group we were part of the second wave. So effectively the same time as Ajit, you came on pretty much. Yeah. What we did was the group has evolved. We started, and then people kind of lost interest and moved on. Okay, so but 4 or 5 of us stayed on. So we again added new members, and then we continued with the group. For me personally, a lot of the group initially was a lot of giving, because I was the more mature business. We had processes, like I told you about. We had the Pepsi MBA in my backyard, where we had done all the planning, strategic planning, HR processes, all were in place, which a lot of our members didn't have in play. So it was initially, the value was not from what I was getting from the group. I was what I was giving to the group, and I yet hung on because I was getting inspired by the youngsters around. And in my back of my mind, I knew I needed a succession planning approach. So at the appropriate time, when I had people like, there's a girl called Karishma who was part of our group, Vivek who's part of our group. They're all people who are second generation entrepreneurs. So learning from them is what are the challenges they are facing with their parents, what are the challenges they are facing with how to take charge and how to have her or his dad let go from day-to-day interference with the business, was where I actually learned a lot from them and could use that in putting stuff in place in Ascent. So for me personally, Ascent has been fantastic, because not only is it with my group, but also now working with facilitating other groups and rejuvenating some groups as well. It's been fun to get to know a much wider plethora of people. Being part of the GC was interesting as well. So I think it's been great. We are now, since we are 10 years old, we are now again figuring out what would be the new avatar of our group, because there's a level of comfort which has come in where, how much more can you keep on learning about each other's businesses? So we're kind of figuring that part out. But otherwise, we yet meet regularly. We meet socially also. And we've become family to a large extent.
True.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Always it goes that way. And and it doesn't take much time to reinvent yourself, because you just know each other and the purpose is so clear.
Exactly.
But Nikunj, what a fantastic story, because we have all had speakers who come and spoken about their business, and probably you're the first one who's come and told us about succession planning and how you learned by the experiences of the second generation and how you actually built your succession and built a new passion around it. So that's truly amazing, and it's been fantastic hearing you out today, Nikunj. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you so much, guys. Much appreciated. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Wow, that was good, man. There was some serious stuff here, but it was good. But yeah, actually, we always end up talking about the business, but we never had anybody who actually said that, listen, I've done well, and I'm actually building it for the next generation and let them go to do it. So
I like the way he said it so fluidly. He didn't make it sound like, oh, it was cumbersome. He did it very fluidly. I think it takes a lot of maturity to do it the way he did it.
Absolutely. I think it was very interesting. I loved it. All right, guys. So we are towards the end of the show. We're just into our 30 minutes. So if you like these shows, do share it. It's a great conversation. We have had a lot of people who say that, listen, I always take this live shows of yours and the recordings are always there. And I forward it to my friends as a conversation starter. So please go ahead and do it. It's nice just sharing this among the entrepreneurial friends of yours. And but if you are an entrepreneur who is growth ready and who want to actually be part of the Ascent cohort, then get to ascentfoundation.in and put an application. The Ascent team is going to get in touch with you. They're going to evaluate you. And if you're truly growth ready, then we'll be happy to have you as part of our cohort. So thank you so much for being with us today. This has been our 29th episode, and we got a speaker on his anniversary who was very upfront to tell us at the age of 30, He traveled to 44 countries, and I'm sure his wife is watching him today. So let's ruffle a few feathers, yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, Ali. So,
okay, guys.
Yeah, please go ahead. So thanks a lot, guys, and see you next Friday, 11 o'clock, with a new story. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. See you. Have a great weekend.